All right, so get this. We're going deep today into a world that's, well, it's kind of running the show behind the scenes.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. And ready for this? We're talking wavelength services.
The tech that's making, like, everything we do online even possible.
Exactly. From, doom scrolling to, I don't know, controlling your smart house with your phone.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to break it all down. How it all works, why it's getting more important, and get this,
Right.
how it ties into 5G and edge computing, stuff most people have no clue about.
Right. And yet here we are, utterly dependent on it.
It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Totally. Okay, so first things first, fiber optics. We've heard the term, but what makes it so different from those old copper wires?
Well, it's all about light.
Right.
Fiber optics transmit data as these pulses of light through these super thin glass strands. And that's the key. That's what gives us these insane speeds and distances.
Insane how, give me a sense of the scale.
Okay, so think thousands of kilometers
Yes.
with almost no signal loss. Remember dial-up?
Ugh, do I. The screeching.
And waiting forever for a blurry picture. Fiber optics.
Yeah.
That's what killed all that.
I mean, it's night and day, like sending a message by, I don't know, carrier pigeon versus teleporting it.
That's a good way to put it.
So, okay, fiber optics laid the foundation for the whole high-speed internet thing. But then we get to DWDM.
Dense Wavelength Division Multiplexing.
Yeah, that. Bit of a mouthful, gotta admit.
It is, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Think of it like you got a single-lane highway. Suddenly, boom, it expands into multiple lanes, all running at high speed.
So more lanes, more data. Makes sense. But how did DWDM change things on the internet, like costs, speed?
Oh, it was huge. Remember when internet was like this crazy expensive luxury?
Oh, yeah.
DWDM played a big part in bringing the cost of bandwidth way down.
Yeah.
Going from paying a fortune for a trickle of water to having an endless supply, but for cheap.
That's why we can stream all those 4K movies now, right?
Exactly, and download gigantic files without, going bankrupt.
So we got fiber for the infrastructure and DWDM making it super efficient.
And that brings us to
Wavelength services. The heart of the matter. Lay it on me. What are they?
imagine you're leasing a whole lane on that fiber optic highway, just for you.
Dedicated lane, no traffic jams.
Exactly, it's a private connection. Guaranteed bandwidth, speed, the works. Your data is the VIP.
Okay, I see the appeal. Especially if you're a business dealing with sensitive stuff or time-critical data.
Oh, absolutely. Think financial institutions processing transactions or hospitals sending patient records. Any hiccup, any delay, it could be disastrous.
You need that rock-solid reliability.
That's what wavelength services deliver. Performance you can count on, something you just don't get with a shared connection.
Okay, so we got speed, reliability, but what about security? Cyber attacks are a big deal, especially with these dedicated data lanes.
You're right, and that's where protected wavelengths come in. It's like having a backup generator, but for your data. If your main connection goes down, boom, you've got a safety net.
Data insurance. I like it.
Keeps everything running smoothly.
So all protected wavelengths, they're all the same, right?
Ah, not so fast. There are different types of protection schemes.
Really? Like what?
The two main ones are revertive and non-revertive.
Okay, those sound very technical.
They are, but bear with me. So, revertive protection, think of it like your basic backup generator, right? Main power goes out, it kicks in right away, no problem. And then when the main line's back, it switches back over. Seamless.
So when would you need the other kind, the non-revertive one? What's the difference?
Non-revertive, that's for when even a tiny blip is a big problem.
Like how tiny?
Milliseconds. Think high-frequency trading, where milliseconds can mean millions of dollars lost or gained.
Wow. Okay, high stakes.
Right. So with non-revertive, it switches over to the backup, and it stays there, even when the main connection comes back online.
So it's like a backup generator that just never stops running even when the power comes back on.
You got it. It minimizes any chance of disruption, even during the switch itself.
So the choice comes down to how critical is that data and how much risk can you handle?
Exactly. And as we're moving into this, hyper-connected world with edge computing, the Internet of Things, all that.
Okay, hold on. Those are some big topics. We definitely need to unpack those more. But I'm sensing they're only going to make wavelength services even more important.
Oh, absolutely. And the impact on, everything we do is going to be huge. Imagine a world where everything is connected instantly. Smart fridges, self-driving cars, even remote surgery.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
And it's all powered by, you guessed it, wavelength services.
Okay, I need a minute to process all this.
Me too.
We'll be back in a flash to dig deeper into how wavelength services are shaping all this cutting-edge tech and what it means for all of us. Stay tuned. All right, so before we took a little breather, we were getting into how wavelength services are, like the key to unlocking all of this crazy potential with edge computing and the Internet of Things.
Right.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around how they all, like, fit together.
Well, think about edge computing, right? The whole idea is bringing data processing closer to the user.
Instead of sending it all the way to, like, some giant data center miles away.
Yeah. You're processing stuff at the edge of the network, closer to where the data is coming from.
So, like, little mini data centers all over the place, but how does that even work?
That's where wavelength services come in. They're the ones providing these high-capacity, low-latency connections, the kind you need for this whole distributed setup.
So, like, edge computing can't really work its magic without those super fast, dedicated connections?
Exactly. Imagine you're trying to stream a live video, say from a security camera, to the cloud and back.
Okay, yeah.
With a regular connection, you'd have that annoying lag. But with wavelength services, it's like instant, no delay.
So what about IoT? Where does that fit in?
Well, IoT, that's connecting all those everyday devices to the internet, right?
Your fridge, your fitness tracker, your car, all talking to each other.
Exactly. And as more devices come online, the demand for, well, everything just explodes. Bandwidth, speed, you name it.
It's not just how much data we're making, it's where it's all coming from. Everywhere. That's got to put a huge strain on the network, right?
Absolutely. That's why wavelength services are so crucial for IoT. It just wouldn't work without it. They provide that scalability, the flexibility you need to handle this, like, avalanche of data coming from all these devices.
So we're not just talking about faster internet, it's like building a whole new foundation for how everything connects.
Yeah, but all this interconnectedness, it does raise some concerns.
Big time. Especially when you're talking about, like, sensitive data from our homes, cars, everything.
You're right. Security is a huge deal. And that's why encrypted wavelengths are becoming so important.
Encrypted wavelengths? That sounds intense.
It is. Think of it like adding an extra layer of armor to those dedicated lanes. Makes them practically impossible to hack.
Okay, so how does that work? Encryption, I mean.
It's like sending a message written in a secret code.
So even if someone intercepts it, they can't read it.
Exactly. It's just gibberish to them.
That's pretty cool. But I have to ask, what about, like, governments or whoever wanting access to that encrypted data?
Right. The whole backdoor debate.
How do you balance security with, like, privacy in this kind of world?
That's the million-dollar question. Law enforcement, they argue they need access to investigate crimes, prevent terrorism.
Right.
But privacy advocates, they're worried about, weakening security for everyone. And those back doors, they could be exploited by, well, the bad guys.
So no easy answers there. But it seems like the tech is moving faster than the rules.
That happens a lot, yeah. But it's why we need to be talking about this stuff now, to make sure this powerful tech is used for good, not for bad things.
That's what I love about these deep dives.
What's that?
We don't just get the tech, we get the whole picture. Like, what are the consequences,
I agree. And this is just scratching the surface with wavelength services. As the tech gets better, who knows what we'll be able to do?
My head is already spinning, so we're not just talking faster downloads and smoother streaming. What else could this tech unlock?
Think bigger. Like healthcare. Imagine a world where surgeons can do surgery remotely without any lag thanks to the speed of wavelength services.
Remote surgery, that's like science fiction.
It could be reality. And that's just one thing. Telemedicine, monitoring patients remotely, personalized medicine, all revolutionized by this tech.
Making healthcare better, more accessible, more effective.
Exactly. And it's not just healthcare. Think education. Connecting researchers around the world, even like talking to astronauts on Mars.
My mind is officially blown. The possibilities are endless.
They are. But let's come back to Earth for a minute. It's easy to get lost in the future, but this tech is already changing things right now.
Good point. Let's talk about some real-world stuff, things happening today thanks to wavelength services.
All right, let's bring it all home.
Okay, so we've talked about all this amazing potential, revolutionizing healthcare, even going to space.
Right, it's exciting stuff.
But let's bring it back down to Earth for a sec. Like, what are we seeing today thanks to wavelength services?
Well, think about how much we all stream these days.
Oh, yeah.
Netflix, Hulu, all those platforms, they need a ton of bandwidth to deliver all that HD video.
They're like millions of people all at the same time.
Exactly. So the next time you're binging your favorite show, you can thank wavelength services for that smooth, buffer-free experience.
So those spinning wheels of doom, that's a thing of the past.
Pretty much. Wavelength services, they're the backbone, making sure everything streams smoothly.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's not just about entertainment, right? What about businesses? How are they using this tech?
Well, imagine you're a financial institution, right?
Okay, yeah.
You need real-time data for trading, transactions, all that. Every millisecond counts,
Big money at stake.
right? So wavelength services, they provide that speed, that reliability that you just can't afford to be without.
Because a delay could cost them, well, a lot.
Exactly. And it's not just speed, it's also security, especially when you're talking about sensitive financial info. Wavelength services, they offer a level of security that, a regular internet connection just can't match.
Which is why we're seeing it more and more in, like, banking, healthcare, all those high-stakes industries.
Right.
Speaking of healthcare, we were talking earlier about remote surgery, telemedicine, all that. Is that stuff actually happening now?
It is. We're seeing more and more hospitals, healthcare providers, they're using wavelength services to do remote consultations, share those big medical images instantly.
So no more waiting forever for, like, an X-ray to download.
Nope. And even doing some procedures remotely. The less invasive ones, of course.
So we're not teleporting surgeons across the world just yet.
Not yet, but we're getting there. The foundation's being laid with this tech.
It's amazing to think what started as, a way to get faster internet is now enabling all this.
It really is. It's not just about speed anymore. It's about connecting everything. People, data, devices in ways we couldn't even imagine before.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Like, I actually get it now, how data moves around and all the tech that makes it possible.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Huge thanks to our expert for, well, being our expert today, taking us on this journey into the world of wavelength services.
Happy to do it.
It's amazing to think about all these invisible forces shaping our digital world, and I have a feeling we're just getting started.
I think you're right.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those brainwaves flowing.